Hello everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's TRI Crypto Countdown. We have a whole bunch of different names for this thing. It's always funny when I start these videos off. I'm never quite sure exactly what to say here. But welcome back to the Howdy. Welcome back to the... Put that on mute just so... I have it running in the background. I always like to keep an eye on what's going on over there. No idea if anybody's even going to show up. I noticed that not too many people watch these. But nonetheless, I really enjoy conversation with my three cohorts here. I think they're all very intelligent. They all have unique perspectives. And it's great sort of getting to know the classes and the eager future TRI OGs, and watch them blossom as they go through the education program and hopefully get to the point where they feel comfortable walking around in the market and just being market participants and having fun. So welcome to the show again tonight, gentlemen. How are you all doing tonight? Anyone want to go first? Somebody say something.
Doing great.
There's Ben. Ben says he's doing great. How about, well, I guess I'll put the spotlight on them. Derek, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for shining the spotlight.
Awesome. And last but not least, Nick. How are you doing this evening, Nick?
I'm fantastic. Ready to talk some crypto.
Awesome. Hopefully we have a good couple hours here, and we actually have a lot of work to get through. So probably don't need to do a lot of chit-chat. You don't need to do a lot of backfilling. We should really just get to work. So why don't we just right off the bat? We haven't done an update of actually we missed last week, right? Last week we took the week off. A couple people were busy with parental duties and feeling a little bit under the weather, so we decided to take the week off last week. I was feeling kind of blah anyway. So, but here we are back in the saddle. I think you can see we have this fun little spreadsheet that we've put together here. And interesting, looks like we've had a fairly substantial rally here on the corn. Last week, I guess, would be our sort of last official sort of prediction meeting. And it looks like good old Brian was nice and wrong out of the gate. Way to go, Brian. I suppose the correct vote would have been a +1.
So you got to look down. So the correct vote would have definitely been a 2. Because the vote for your -1 was for the 19%er.
Not this one. Didn't we miss a week? I thought we missed a week.
We did. So it would have been whatever the 9th would have been, which would have still been probably a...
Oh, so you just didn't include a week?
Yep, I didn't include the 9th because we didn't do the show.
Yeah, okay.
But you're saying we're up 19% from the second?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I guess
moves fast.
That's a pretty big number.
We were right here on the 9th as well. We pretty much didn't move at all last week.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so that's what... well, I guess here's a good old corn. What market are you following for this? Just out of curiosity.
I think I have Coinbase's chart, but...
Okay, well, we can put that on there. Coinbase, there you are. So we had a big jump up out of this area. I guess last time we got... Well, I don't know. It's not that long ago. When was... oh, I see. So last time we met, we were in here. And Brian was thinking we were heading lower, but instead we actually headed higher. All right. So that was blatantly wrong. Sure hope I was exercising a half-decent risk management strategy, and I didn't bet the farm on that trade. Nick, now it's always a question, right? This is Nick's category. It's always a question about whether Nick is arbing this. And he's actually, if he actually does a -2 vote, it actually means that he's very, very bullish. He's just
I don't think that was the case 2 weeks ago.
No, you were actually quite bearish, huh?
We had just confirmed like a daily empire, like a bearish empire, and I was not feeling good. I thought we'd go back down to that lower 30s before we'd come back up.
Well, actually, maybe why don't we put that daily chart on there? Douche. And so that was on the 2nd. That was the last time we met. Where's the
Yeah,
second?
so it's kind of that red candle there right before it came back up was the
Right
third
here,
one
right?
of the, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that was our last meeting, eh? Was that on the
Yep.
2nd? God, I don't even remember that. Yeah, I guess you're
And-
right, eh?
And we were trading through the bottom of that during the show, so I got pretty bearish.
Yeah, and we were all kind of like, oh my god, the sky's falling. I even remember I put out tweets and stuff. But was that day that I did that Empire Strikes Back tweet?
It might have been.
Yeah. Actually, this is a really, really good lesson. Everybody, if you're watching this, you want to learn something about trading. I've seen this happen so many times in my career. You get like this empire pattern forms. And then you get the market, it will like literally tick through that low. And then you got to watch it like a hawk through here. And my hunch is that if we go down to like an hourly, you actually see that this was a trap. Yeah. So this was sort of our empire that we were thinking. Was this going to turn out? And notice how it came down here. Actually, this is a really good analogy. Notice, look at the volume impetus. So you can see this was our empire level. It broke it, and the sellers just didn't show up. Eh? They came out a little bit, but just nothing afterward. Eh? You had some pretty big buying interest, which broke that bar. So the bulls were like, hey, we're still here. And if anything, the bears, if they really wanted to take over, they had to ramp this candle up here. And they just didn't show up. And then notice, so the empire pattern fired. If anybody was like overtly bearish, and they were like, okay, let's go, right? They disappeared. And I think probably the tell that this empire just was not going to work is notice how the sellers just didn't show up here. And so no sellers, and path of least resistance was back to the upside. So I do remember when that came in. I often see that happens, right? And actually a lot of traders, they actually want to see 2-bar confirmation. And this isn't a bad example of the 2-bar confirmation as well. So, we said that this was our empire level, and notice 1 bar, then the next bar jumped it right back out of there. Then, okay, well, maybe we'll go down. Nope, get your ass out of there. Then, okay, well, here we go. We got 1 bar. Oh, get your ass out of there. And then here, like this, right down here, 1 bar. Okay, this is serious. No, get your ass out of there. Isn't that incredible? That there's a lot of traders that actually do that 2-bar confirmation to confirm empires like this, just to make damn sure that this thing has actually failed. And like I said, the volume impetus is probably the key here. That the bears were pushing the market down, but on lower volume. Where the fuck are these goddamn bears, right? And then their opportunity to really take over, I think, was this bar right here. If I can get that centered. Right there, right? And they had to get it above this. In fact, can you see the volume impetus? So 1 high, and notice this high is slightly higher than that high. So 1 high, 2 highs, 3 highs, and then everything just fell away. And then this high, for the bear to really be in charge, we had to see the volume bust up through these highs, right? So that high there is 1,296, and all they could do was 1,188. And literally, I think the bulls sniffed this and said, we own this. There's a big fat double bottom that just came in off of that level, and then, didn't look back. So, really good lesson there, guys. Seriously, here, I'll take a screenshot of that. Like, do you understand the lesson I'm trying to convey to you guys here?
Yep. We got waning volume.
That's a really good learning material. So right out of the gate, go figure. Anyway, how do empire patterns confirm, and what's a trap? Because quite often you'll see that these empires form, and then there's just no follow through when they do break the lows. So anyway, all right. Well, that's interesting. So big jump up, and the bears just got crushed here. So that's cool. If anything, I like that because things were looking pretty dire there a week or two ago. And I suppose now it sure looks like some sort of inverted head and shoulders here, eh? Don't know how your schedule is, Derek, but we missed you at the options meeting last night. And I actually quizzed David O, sort of our resident head and shoulders expert, last night about this. Because me personally, I don't like it when these necklines are cockeyed like this. But he's like, oh, actually, I really like this. Because what it means is the bearish structure over here has been broken with this move to new highs. So if this thing does actually turn up, then, you know, they've busted the bearish structure. So maybe that's working right now. Fascinating.
So was he saying on an inverse head and shoulders, he would want the right side higher, and on a head and shoulders, would he then want the right side a little lower?
Yeah, that's not a bad way to look at it. Yep.
Okay.
So anyway, terrible call, Brian. Sure hope you were managing risk appropriately. And, you know, I hate to say it, folks, you know, especially anybody who's watching this and it is not really too familiar with TRI. I actually try to be accurate, quote unquote, 60 to 70% of the time. So that means that I fully expect to be inaccurate 30 to 40% of the time. That's a pretty damn big number. So the question is, how do you make money from trading? How do you survive in this game if you're that inaccurate? And keep in mind, 60-70% accuracy is actually a pretty damn good number. But the answer is you actually want to try and get paid much, much more when you're right than when you're wrong. And you just simply have to accept the fact that you're going to be wrong a lot, and you better make damn sure that when you are wrong, you don't just sit there like an egotistical kind of person and say, no, I'm right, it's going to go down. Oh, no, I'm right. And the goddamn thing goes up to $500,000 and you've lost your life savings. I've actually seen people do that before in trading, and it just breaks your heart. So if anything, I don't really care whether I was right or wrong. Most important thing is, if I am wrong, just make damn sure to manage risk. And actually, the one way I really like to play the market is through options. And then you know that the purchase price of the option is actually your maximum risk. Actually, I think, Nick, you're doing that right now, eh? So you're learning all about options, correct?
Yep.
And Derek just went through the options module. I guess, Ben, you might do that a few years down the road. But we'll look forward to seeing you in the program one of these days. Interesting thing about Ben. Ben pulled a fast one on us, because technically what I want at TRI is I want educated market participants. So I have this little treat that I say, if you complete all 3 education levels at TRI, then I'll know that you're smart and you've at least been informed of how appropriately to behave. So Ben went and bought all 3 courses all at once. And now he's like, okay, I'm grandfathered on the site. I don't have to take the courses. I'm done. Wait a minute. Something's not working here, right? I've obviously written the rules wrong. I did something wrong here. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to handle this, but I would like you to complete the damn education program, Ben. Anyway.
I'll get there.
All right, good. But anyway, I did notice that the other day, and you're like, okay, well, I'm grandfathered, I'm here to, and it's like, well, wait a minute. The whole point is get the vet tag. And speaking of which, should I ask Derek?
It's at the top of my list.
You guys are killing me. See, this is where, because I'm a pussy, these guys get away with murder with me.
Don't worry, he's got a month and a half before I'm going to take it.
Yeah, okay, so there you go.
I promise you won't get it before I do.
He'll have some pressure soon.
I already got pressure, man. I just gotta get it done. I got like 20 things on my plate. I gotta get them off.
I swear, I gotta get a backbone with you guys. I really do. Anyway, moving on.
PMA for the win.
Brian, yeah. Brian was wrong. Nick was wronger, but
was very wronger.
Looks like, ooh, hello. Looks like Derek was right-ish.
right-ish,
And really,
sorta.
did Ben kick ass here? Ben was the only one who had this.
I think we put that in for him. I thought.
Yeah, Ben was gone. I put in a 2
Yeah.
for him.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'll give him
I don't
credit.
remember doing that, but
I'll give him credit.
Okay. You guys, oh man. Now, I hope you all realize you can't take these kind of liberties with the market, eh? The market is a cruel mistress. She won't let you have this flexibility. So, anyway. All right, so there's our summary. Way to go, Ben. I guess the most accuratist of us all was Derek. So hats off to you, Derek. I think you win the booby prize this week. Way to go.
Yay.
We'll check. You know what I wouldn't mind doing? I wouldn't mind actually adding in the ninth and just say, you know, we were all absent or something. Just so, because I don't know. I'm autistic this way. It'll drive me crazy if we don't. So
Okay, I will go find what the exact price was.
That's okay. Don't sweat it. I mean, just something just simple like that. So, okay. Anyway. Okay, so, you know, at the end of the broadcast, we'll maybe chime in, get our big predictions, and see where it goes. One thing that we did kind of want to do recently, which I really liked from the boys, I was super pleased when I heard this, is they really want to try and just update as many charts as possible here with levels, so that if you are interested in participating in these names, at least you know sort of, I mean, at the very least, it's like, okay, well, Beamish and his crew, they're going to be hunting in this area, so I might as well wait for that level before I start getting uber bullish. And then, of course, if something is actually a buy, then holy moly, I'll jump up and down and pull my hair out because you know how much I love buys in the market. And the only problem is, and actually, this is a really cool sales pitch for this site, although, you know, I don't really shill that much, but I was uber impressed. We asked one of our OGs to take over the blog and the publishing of blog articles, for lack of a better term. And man, the work that this guy has been doing is just over the top. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful work. So we've got it going, and you know, honestly, this resource into itself is it's worth a subscription. It's so valuable, but it's totally free. So anyway, this was a latest report Josh put together. I'm a fan of a gentleman by the name of Larry Williams. He created the Williams percentage R indicator, among other tools. And he does a regular broadcast on a site called stockcharts.com. It's run by John Murphy, who's like sort of one of the original OGs of TA here, the latter part of last century. And Larry did a nice little video, sort of what to expect for the coming year. And one of the studies that he did, and he actually quoted that Mr. Buffett really likes this study as well. And this is just simply asking what's sort of the average performance in a year ending in whatever the year is that we're in. And right now, 2022. So what do years that end in 2 kind of look like? And interesting enough, this is sort of your average. And then also, too, we have an election coming up here in the United States later on this year. The sad part about it, I love to poke fun at the Americans whenever they get some over-the-top characters in charge. I mean, everybody knows what the hell's going on in Canada right now, so how the hell do I poke fun at anybody? I mean, everybody should be poking fun at Canada. It's almost a joke of a democracy right now. So if anything, I'm rooting for my American buddies down south to try and hold on to a shred of democracy and a shred of freedom in the face of Klaus and Justin Trudeau and his insanity in this world. I mean, if we leave it up to Klaus, they're going to take over. And what you see happening out of Canada right now is Klaus's dream future. So, to be perfectly honest with you, I'd much rather have Mr. Trump than Mr. Klaus. No doubt about it. You know, I mean, I'm sitting here on the other side of the border, and you know, we were joking about how there's probably a concentration camp ticket with my name on it already being printed in Justin's office. All I'm going to say is, boys, you know, keep the faith. All of you get out there and vote and hold on to our freedom, because you're literally the world's last sort of bastion of hope. I know that's a horribly over-the-top political thing to say, but honestly, I really feel that. So this year, I think, actually carries a hell of a lot of weight when it comes to this election. And are we going to go down the road of international communism? Have the communists actually won the Cold War? They might have. But maybe my American brethren down there can save free market capitalism for us, guys, please. So I say this election this fall actually carries a stunning amount of weight to it. And hopefully what ends up happening is the socialists and the communists, for lack of a better term, all get told politely to go relieve themselves, let's say. So anyway, point of the matter here is, go check out this blog post done up by Josh. He's out of the UK, so he's insulated from Canada, thank God. And you know, all I can say was brilliant job, Josh. I'm just so over the top impressed. So you can see this decennial report, first part of this year, not so good. And then, interestingly enough, my hunch is, I think what's going to happen here, this is just my hunch, and this is Brian talking out of his butt. I think we get to about mid-year, and the market can see who's going to win this election coming up this fall. And my hunch is the capitalists are going to win this election. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. That's my hunch. And if the market believes that the capitalists are going to win this election coming up this fall, believe it or not, I actually think the U.S. economy is in an incredibly powerful position right now. And the fundamental backdrop, the infrastructure of the United States is set up. And I like it or lump it, Mr. Trump put a lot of rules in place that sort of leveled the playing field for the American sort of Joe business owner, operator. And on top of the fact that they went through their debt crisis back in 2008, a country like Canada has not gone through that debt crisis yet. You might argue the insanity that you see in Canada right now is a function of the fact that we still have to go through our crisis. Maybe the country of Canada doesn't even exist on the other side of this. I don't know. Anyway, point of the matter here is, first 6 months of this year, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. And then, you know, we have things like the January barometer, which is a pretty good gauge as to sort of what to expect for the full year. I think we did a different January barometer. It's probably a better report for us to use that has the full month. Let's see if I can just quickly find that. Yeah, here's the full month. So if I can show you that. So, January started out actually relatively positive, and then just puked out. And then you can see heading into the end of the month, and this I think is sort of like election time in the States. You can see the market ended the month on a fairly firm note. So again, that's sort of that decennial report, January barometer report. Hopefully you're kind of seeing how this year, 2022, is going to play out. My hunch is, you know, after the dust settles, we're probably going to look something along these lines by the end of all this. So, you know, if anything, I kind of like, interestingly enough, when it comes to something like crypto, is I actually kind of like the idea that all we're going to do is just take this, you know, probably through this window here, just take this time to sort of clean up the market. And we might actually finish the year on a pretty up note, and in a weird sort of way, you can kind of see that, right? You can kind of go up, up, so up somewhere right around there, down, down. I mean, I don't know how long this takes to turn. You know, there's also this down here. You can kind of see, maybe somewhere in there. So maybe we look something like that going forward. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't know whether it's going to be that big of a rally. It's probably more something like that. Anyway, something like that. So, if anything, one thing that jumped out at me recently when I was studying this was, and actually it doesn't really look too much like it on this chart, but we can actually draw, and it's really predicated on how deep we go through this spring trough here. But this actually kind of looks like a megaphone to me. It's a big one. It's ugly. Something along those lines there. So believe it or not, crypto actually has one hell of a wide trading range. I wouldn't be calling for collapses here. As long as we're sort of still wrapped up in all of this, what the hell's going on with COVID and all that kind of craziness. I heard that, and I was telling the folks on the site today. I don't really mean to freak you guys out, but we probably should just call a spade a spade. I'm hearing that there are actually livestock now that is actually transmitting this sickness. And out of Hong Kong, they actually had to cull something like 200,000 pet store hamsters, of all the fucking things in this world, because they all had COVID. And the news today is that the Hong Kong hospitals are absolutely getting overwhelmed with COVID patients again. So just be warned, everyone. This probably isn't over by a long shot. Sucks. But I was a little disappointed when I was reading about this kind of stuff recently. So, the point being that, the way I actually look at something like Bitcoin, to me, is it's an excellent inflation proxy. What do you think, guys? Has the 1% inflated our society slightly? I mean, the irony of it all is that I always tell people on the site and stuff, the way that I like to measure inflation is not even here, which is kind of interesting, I guess, because this is Coinbase, eh? If we go over to Stamp, maybe we got a bit. But I used to go, you only get 2012 here. But back in like the early 2000s, I used to buy lunch at Subway Sandwich, 6-inch tuna on cheese every single day. I always had the exact same thing. I remember distinctly I used to pay $2.75 for that sandwich. And I used to budget like $3 or $4 for my lunch. So, it fit. Now, when I go to that same Subway restaurant, that sandwich here in Canada is literally $8 or $9. It's so sad. The value of money is just collapsing. So, I've told you guys this before. Of course, no one likes to hear this. Yeah, you might have your Bitcoin 100, 200, 300,000 a coin. And a loaf of bread's $50 at the grocery store. Wow, wonderful. So, careful what you wish for. You might just get it, good and hard.
I mean, if it's going to 300,000, I'd rather own some Bitcoin than not.
Yeah, that's definitely an excellent comment there, Nick. And then the problem here is, how do you step in and buy this damn thing at $43,000 a piece, eh? So, I mean, it was a hell of a lot easier. I bought my Bitcoins when it was $460. So, can I justify coming in and spending $43,000 on a Bitcoin? Excuse me. I don't know what you do. If anything, and actually I was, a little bit of a side, and I'll try and shut up here so we can get on to the actual analysis. But one thing that did jump out at me recently, and I've been day trading here with the boys on the site, and it's been a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun running these models. This is the model that I used to run when I was a prop trader years and years and years ago. And I noticed that actually Bitcoin and Ethereum both now have really cool charts that I think we could realistically start seriously day trading the CME contracts. So it's fascinating how we just sat here right at a couple foggy boggy levels there, just settled in there nicely. And look at this megaphone that's working on the corn right now. So if I was day trading, this is what my look would be. Is I'd be thinking about shorting up top here and buying down below here. And then, what I was thinking is if you trade the spot market while Ethereum's here, I'm actually a little surprised Charlie hasn't gotten around to getting the Litecoin futures going. That does surprise me. So I would have thought that he would have been a bit more proactive, but nonetheless. So I am charting and tracking both Bitcoin and Ethereum futures contracts here for our day trading community quite aggressively. I really like the look of these charts. It's turning into some really usable information. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. All right, so blah 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 blah. I guess you can really see it here on the stamp chart, right? This is the megaphone that I'm talking about here. You can see on stamp. I mean, because this made a higher high, I mean, technically we could very easily. Usually the megaphone trade is 3 trade tests of each level. And that is slightly downward sloping, so that is legitimate. So 1, 2, 3, that's a buy signal. 1, 2, 3, that's a sell signal. So there's your trading range. Merry Christmas. You could drive a truck through that. Actually, speaking of which, Ben, if you happen to see a relatively cheap 450 truck, I think it's maybe it's 4,500, the Chevy trucks. Shane needs a new truck for his camper. His truck's dying, and I'm out shopping for trucks for him. He's in Florida right now.
Oh, really?
So if you happen to know somebody who's selling a used one, relatively half decent price, let me know.
Yeah, used vehicles are.
Yeah, well, we just lost Ben. Oh, you're not allowed to comment on that, I guess. Oh, there he's back.
Sorry, Amber Alert just came through on my phone.
Really?
Yeah, it's really loud. But yeah, used cars are really hard to find here at the moment, so I'll keep an eye out.
I heard down in the States, totally side topic. This girl went missing in 2019, and they found her. Somebody had her locked underneath stairs in a secret room in their house. Did you guys hear about that today?
No,
I don't believe that. I didn't even think shit like that still happened in this world.
Yeah, I didn't think it was possible. I guess it
bit.
probably happens more than you think.
Anyway, it's totally side topic. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's get on with the analysis. Blah, blah, blah. Hopefully I gave you a little bit of food for thought there with the corn. I still like the idea that if we get down into this sort of, let's call it mid-20s area, I really don't mind actually stepping up and buying. And for whatever it's worth, I did sell a bunch of corn on that silly, remember Dog Money and Allen and all that nonsense last year. I actually sold a whole bunch of Doge, and then initially I sold it into BTC, and then I converted the BTC into fiat just so we had enough money to pay taxes and stuff. So I do actually have some bids working at 25, 15, and 10. So I don't really mind being a buyer of the corn down here in sort of the mid to low 20s area, like a nice little FU move. To me, I think that would be perfect. And remember our decennial report, remember our election year typical price action, and remember our January barometer. They're all suggesting that, interestingly enough, we might actually find this year is the exact opposite. And this sometimes happens with seasonality too. You guys all know, right? When it's my birthday, you should probably be thinking about getting out of the market. So there's my birthday right there last year. And boom! And you go back in years gone by. Usually it's the same sort of thing. I guess that wasn't that dramatic. 2019, there was my birthday there. Actually 2018 is probably a good example where we peaked in December, and then you notice that here comes Brian's birthday right here, but you're like, well, Brian, I thought you said you peaked in it, and it turns out in this correction year, the seasonality kind of goes out the window. So considering that we're really wonky here, we topped sort of the beginning of November, we're living in this crazy sickness world. We're living in, Klaus trying to take over the world and turn us all into communists. Maybe seasonality might just be put on pause for a little bit here, folks. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So, the one thing about seasonality you have to remember, and this is what gets most people into trouble. Sorry, I'm talking again. Blah, blah, blah. But I really want to just show you this. Gold was all the rage back in the late 70s, early 80s. And it got so bad, especially through here, right, that the commodity brokers, they were just making a killing. Just, hey, you buy your unleaded the middle of February, sell it the middle of May, you made money mine out of the past 10 years. And same thing with the gold market. You can draw up seasonality studies. In fact, there's even sites, Equity Clock, that actually publish these seasonality studies. But the problem with these seasonality studies is that you get too many people looking at them, and there's too much market participation, and they just don't work. So you can see here, for example, gold right now, its seasonal window is actually to buy it the middle of July and sell it the middle of October. That's the seasonal window for gold. But then you look at gold right now, and just that actually looks like a buy, and we're here in the middle of February. What the fuck? I mean, so seasonality is kind of screwy right now. In fact, actually, and this would be a good quiz for you guys. Hopefully you guys are with me. If I do a chart like that, what am I thinking here? What do you guys think I'm thinking?
Bullish bot.
Oh, nice, Nick. Says it so matter of fact, come on, Brian. Jeez. How about Derek and Ben? Were you thinking along those lines?
Actually, I wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking continuation at first. No,
but gee whiz, I
that's a
look
continuation
at this.
pattern. Yep.
I'm sorry, Derek.
I said I wasn't initially thinking continuation, but I wasn't looking at the full picture either. But yeah, continuation.
Yeah, this is scary, eh? Yeah, look at that. Son of a gun. So, oh boy. Get ready, folks. W's on other sides of trend lines. Oh boy. Ay. So what's that saying? $2,600 an ounce for gold. And I suppose if we get another big whack of hamster cold, is that what we call it? I don't know. Hamster flu?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And they have to go on another big fucking printing spree here to keep the Fugazi going. I could easily see that pop up. And maybe that's sort of the justification for Bitcoin to work its way back up top. I don't know. That's a tough one. Oh, goodness. Well, anyway. So what I wanted to show you, and it was just about seasonality. It's dangerous when you just get lulled. Where the hell did the damn screen go? It's dangerous when you just get lulled into thinking, okay, well, typical seasonality, this is what's supposed to happen. Because, here, after the big blow-off top in gold, you can see that, there were whole years where this just went one direction, and there just was no seasonal trade. Look at this, is 83 all the way to 85. That's like 2 full years of bear nightmare. So, just understand, you always have to take seasonality with a grain of salt. Okay. I guess we'll work off of this chart. I saved that, eh? Yeah, gee whiz, that's a interesting looking gold chart, eh? Okay, so BTC USD. I could easily see this thing work its way back up here. I could see that. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. So I do think, though, for whatever it's worth, one last comment here. I was actually a really big fan of these guys, the Foundation for the Study of Cycles. And of course, I'm a huge fan of cycles. Although I really didn't like the fact that when they sort of brought themselves to the world, geez, about 20 years ago, they wanted like a couple fucking grand for like lifetime memberships kind of thing to the foundation. So I was like, screw it. I don't want to join. I'm a cheap ass. Everybody remember that. I'm a total cheap ass. I hate spending money. But they had a really nice video. This guy's a nice clean cut. Seems to understand the cycle thesis pretty well. Looks like he's a relatively young guy. And they've built out one hell of a platform. So, you know, if you're interested in cycles, I'll give you a sales pitch. Go to these guys. I think they know their shit, and they do a really good job. Here's sort of their basic sort of thinking of sort of Bitcoin cycle. So again, remember, because that's a V-top up there and because of the megaphone, we could very easily cycle back into a rip-roaring bull here. Do we see hundreds of thousands of dollars on Bitcoin and crypto? I don't think so. But could we see a serious run at those old highs? I don't see why not. The one thing that I'd say about this, and I thought this was interesting because this sort of ties in with what I'm trying to convey to you guys here, is as they went through their presentation, this is the basic sort of big picture, but when they sort of drilled down, you could see their cycle analysis showed that there was going to be a bounce off the lows here, but we kind of need to maybe dip down again against those lows. There could be one more wave, and especially if we have another thing of sickness, you know, damn Hong Kong hamsters, and all hell breaks loose, and, you know, there you go. Then this was another cycle study that they had where they were actually just looking for back and forth here. Not really a push to new lows, but just back and forth. The point I guess I'm trying to make is I do like the idea for, you know, like we just had a big jump up, and when we started the broadcast, we were like, oh my God, holy jeez, the thing really just jumped up here. Not a big fan of chasing. I don't like chasing. Don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. You've heard it a million times from me. I did find it interesting that we did put in this W down here, and then, you know, you could make the argument on the daily, whoops, oh, darn it, on the daily chart, there's a bit of a W down here. This is a tough one. You know, those people that like to work with trend lines, I really like this rule. It just keeps you honest, but, you know, you might not have seen this kind of W before. But there's our trend line. Don't take the trade unless you see a W on the other side of trend line. So you can see we jumped up and then we had to come all the way back down. And lo and behold, look at what happened here. Down, up, down, breakout. So I think you can actually make the argument that we got a W here. Down, up, down, breakout. That's not a terrible W, to be perfectly honest with you. And then, you know, traders got to trade. The easiest technical objective you can ever use in technical analysis charting is the 50% rule, WD-GAN. And it looks to me like they want to take a serious run back at this 50 Gs here. That's what it looks like to me. And then I did hear some other people, like we said, earlier, David liked the idea that this was a valid inverted head and shoulders. And so if we're thinking that, well, then we have to actually start thinking, I don't like this. This isn't me. I wouldn't use this. But, you know, I just might as well just, you know, show you everything that's available out there. You might actually get something that looks like that. Big breakout up into here. I don't know whether I'm ready to start thinking about this as a shoulder and that as a head. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I do like the idea, and actually that's what this chart was I had on. I don't know whether you saw it or not. Where is it? Okay. Too many charts. My head's going to explode. Nope, don't think it's over there. It must be over here. There it is. All right, so I think that's the trade. So if you had the balls, well, you could have stepped in and bought that W down there. I think you had to risk against this tail. And what bothers me about this tail is they always say wicks and tails like to be eaten. That was a V bottom. That was probably around the time when we were like, holy shit, this thing looks terrible. We're heading lower. And that low should be tested and all that kind of talk. They reversed it. Up it went. I don't know whether, this is that inverted head and shoulders here. It's not something I would be jazzed about. I certainly could not buy there. And you can actually see that this trade is technically, we hit 1-to-1. So basically that is the amount of risk that you would have had to take in to buy this. Can we get up into that 2-to-1, which is what I would sort of want to see as a knee-jerk sort of, am I going to think about taking this trade? Right, 2-to-1 right in there. Which really what that's saying is I want to see them go after this liquidity pool just up top here. But believe it or not, if I did want to participate, and I don't mind the idea, I actually would like to be hunting for some sort of bottom down in here. That's what I'd love to see. Which, of course, isn't going to make any of you happy at all. But if I did want to hunt for a long down in here, this is what I want to see. If we just work our way up here, then I've missed the trade. So fucking what? Trades come and go. But what I'd like to see is I'd like to see them run these lows. Like I said, DCNEO report still shows a bit of weakness. That's that cycle report. It showed that there was a good chance that we could have to come right back down against these lows. The January barometer, of course, said once we get out of February and into March, all hell is going to break loose. And then what I'm really worried about, which, of course, gee whiz. Considering I said that we were going to be doing all the other charts, I'm sorry, guys. Another idea keeps popping into my head, and I want to show it to you guys. But one thing that really, really bugs me coming up here shortly is we have a big celestial event coming up here. And we don't often see... where the hell's the picture? Thought it was in here. Yeah, there it is. We don't often see a number of these planets all line up in a row like this. That doesn't happen very often. And what's concerning, if you listen to guys like this gentleman, I thought this was a really interesting video. He has a whole bunch of these videos that he does. I really like listening to him. But what's fascinating about this guy is he actually makes references to... Actually, it turns out people have been following this kind of stuff for like millennia. Millennia! All right, this is a very old study. And it turns out that there's already been roadmaps of how the market's going to behave, how society's going to behave, how humans are going to behave through these cycles. And this one, for whatever it's worth, there's lots of talk about water. And unfortunately, when Mars and Saturn line up like this in conjunct, that's usually like war. So there's a reference to war and there's a reference to water. And I've just been racking my head over the past little while thinking, what could this be in reference to? And what I'm really worried about is I think what ends up, because I love to worry. And of course, me worrying about it, it's going to change the world history, isn't it? Not really. But what I'm really worried about right now is there's a whole bunch of very, very expensive ships all sailing around the South China Sea that I think have a whole bunch of bullseyes all over them. And the Chinese, they are notorious for doing shit right after big events. And what do I mean by that?
Because something might be happening in Beijing right now?
No, because the Olympics are going on. And I think I showed you guys...
The Olympics are in Beijing.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen there. But what happens when the Olympics are done? What happens when they're over? Right? And I want to show you something. It's shocking when you see this. I was, of course, a retail broker here in Vancouver, so this was basically my stock market for a long, long time. So there's the end of the upcoming Olympics, or, current Olympics in China. And China Olympics, just remember that. Does this market does that look like a bullish chart pattern or a potentially bearish chart pattern? Let me make it easy for you guys on YouTube, and maybe even my co-hosts. What are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us? Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
Bad sign. It's an M.
This is the end of those Chinese Olympics. Now, is there any historical precedent of what happens at the end of Chinese Olympics? Well, if you go back and look in history, we had a really big Olympics in 2008, and there it was, and there is the chart, and what happened following the event? Kaboom! So, I'm not predicting the future, but oh boy, that doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, I'll tell you that much, pie crackers. So, the fact that we've got this big celestial thing coming up, the fact that the decennial chart says, well, don't expect any bottom till the middle of the year, the fact that the January barometer fucking fell apart, the fact that the celestial things say that, the gods of war, they're beating very, very loudly. This is exactly when this shit is supposed to happen. And this is always a good question of, are these humans actually acting on their own? Or is this our fate? That actually all this shit was predetermined? That's what really freaks you out as sort of a student of the market. I would actually argue that these stupid humans running around on this planet are acting screwy, and they might fucking let off some nuclear weapons, and that's the end of humanity because of things like the celestial soup, because we're just not thinking with straight brains, which is kind of sucky, but oh well, we'll see what happens. So put it all together, I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit leery about getting too bullish just yet, but at the same time too, hey, it's nice to see the corn's caught a bit of a bid. I suppose we could also get into dashboards and all that kind of stuff and TRI tools. I think the TRI dashboard, the screening tools, actually kind of foreshadowed something like this might happen. And then right now, the dashboard is kind of saying, you know what, it would be best if we could just cool our jets. And we'll see what happens. So kind of along those same lines, this is what I'm kind of hoping happens here going forward. But anyway, only time will tell.
So I know this is a crypto show, but I know
I'm
for
sorry,
a while...
I totally went
no.
off.
No, I know for a while you were looking at the Taiwanese semiconductor, the TSM.
Yeah, I love that stock. I thought that trade would have been perfect.
So with what's happening with China and some of this foreshadowing, if this happens, would that ever scare you away from doing a trade on something like this?
Well, I've been watching this son of a gun like a hawk here, eh? And I've just been asking, should I step in here? First and foremost, it is a trend continuation trade. So, if you do take this trade, you're making a bet that the trend, and the irony of it all is usually bets with the trend usually work, and trades against the trend usually don't work. So if you're thinking sort of statistical odds, believe it or not, I think the statistical odds are that this thing just keeps marching its way higher, which when we as humans, we look at a chart like this, that's actually a really hard sort of image for us to conceive, that actually this thing is pointing all the way up here. It's really difficult for me to sort of wrap my head around this. A long, long, long time it took for me to just buy into the idea that actually the statistical odds are as long as this just keeps making higher highs and higher lows. I mean, notice, if this thing was such a bear on this dump, why did this low here not get taken out? I mean, it should have. But in essence, like higher low, 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 higher low. Something's going on here. So, taking my crystal ball, I'm going to predict the future hat off. And I'm just going to say I'm a trader. I have no fucking clue what's going to happen in the future. I just simply trade setups. And really all this is saying is the statistical odds are that we continue on our way. I'm going to risk that window there. And if the statistical odds play out, well, that's my reward window there. And how often do I, if I buy this little W down here, front running the trade, which I like to do, then really what that means is, there's my risk. Hey, let's go in and buy it today. And if we lose these lows, I just have to say, look, I was wrong. We got to get out. And if I'm right, then it translates to a 4.75 risk to reward ratio. How often do I actually have to be right? And I just keep hunting these and keep hunting them and take the trade and take the trade. How often do I have to be right just to be a scratch trader? It's like less than 20%.
Just
it's like
under
20, 30%,
yeah.
Right? So this, I think, is a really good analogy of, am I in the business of predicting the future? Or am I in the business of running statistical models?
Sure.
That's about the best way I can answer this.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it would ever be like a cool your jets fundamental moment that you might not take a trade just because, hey, Taiwan might not exist in a bit or something.
Well, ironically enough, what actually I think ends up happening is Taiwan itself gets taken, liberated, and the share certificates are simply transferred from Joe Sixpack Taiwanese citizen to Winnie the Pooh. And Taiwan Semiconductor continues doing the business that it does, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I think number one, semiconductor demand is through the roof right now, right? So, the worst part about capitalism is you've heard of a guy named Schindler, right? From Germany in the Second World War.
Yep.
So, the one really bad part about capitalism is they don't give a fuck about sort of human rights or anything like that. And if there's you might even be thinking here that if Alan is over there building all his cars in China, and they need semiconductors to build those damn cars, maybe it would actually be quite fortuitous for Taiwan Semiconductor to be enveloped, incorporated into that model, and Taiwan Semiconductor actually has a monopoly business. Monopoly businesses are usually pretty good for profits. So
That's fair.
I guess that's the way I look at it. I will tell you one thing, and probably a really good analogy of this is I remember a year or two ago, we all declared, and of course this made Greta immensely happy, that crude oil was basically going out of business, and it was over, and it was dirty, and Greta, of course, didn't want us to be using crude oil. Somebody had the balls to go in there and invest in crude, and how are they feeling today? So how ironic, eh? I mean, the market will do whatever the hell the market wants to do, regardless of our sentimental feelings. That's a nasty reality of capitalism. I'd actually say, looking at this, and it's the same thing as almost all. I would actually say there's probably a good. The way I would trade this is, like I said earlier, I'd go and buy like a leap option. Go and spend maybe $500, maybe $1,000 and buy like 2 or 3 leaps, like maybe like the 150, 160 calls. And if this thing actually does perform, well, then you sell one of them. If the asset starts moving up, get your original capital back. You've got a couple free calls on the books. And then if this damn thing does perform, rock and roll. And your maximum risk, if this thing didn't work and it crapped out through the bottom, well, you threw $1,000 at the option, so fucking what? You know, that's probably the way I would recommend someone look at something like that. So, always dangerous to use the word recommend, though. So I'm going to say, please consult your financial advisor for the appropriateness of any investment decision talked about here today and your personal circumstances. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. All right, where should we go next? Shall we actually get into some crypto?
Yeah, probably crypto.
And my apologies.
We've still got
it
an
only took
hour
me
left.
an hour. That's not bad, considering that you didn't get a big whack of me last week. I did, though. Hopefully what I did was I put like sort of a lot of the broader market context conversation, January barometer, decennial reports, cyclical report, cycles report, M's and W's off of trendline breaks. Hopefully we talked a bit about this, tried to explain a little bit about what I'm seeing out of the corn right now. Okay, so where should we go? Our little list. And actually what I wouldn't mind doing if I could is just sort of, just ripping through these as fast as possible. So we did look at Solana, do you think?
Yes, we did.
All right. So let's just hop right on. Actually, I've been hearing a lot of people talking bullishly of XRP lately, which I do find a bit interesting.
Yeah, what's the status with their SEC thing? Is there any movement on that? I haven't seen.
Well, I guess we can go here. I don't know. Now this is where you guys. I'm the chart guy. I'll do lots of fun chart talk, but I don't know fundamentals on crypto that well. So tell me a story here, boys. Once upon a time, how does the rest of that go?
Ripple had a lawsuit with the SEC.
Okay.
And I'm seeing some stuff that says Ripple might be stuck in a lawsuit until 2023.
Well, did we talk about Benner cycle? I guess we didn't even talk about Benner cycle, did we?
Not today.
So there's another one you can throw in there, everybody, if you want.
Well, you forgot the astronomy. You forgot
another
about that.
reason to cool your jets. I don't know. You look at that chart. What do you think, boys? And actually, you've been working with me long enough. Do you think Brian's going to be super bullish about a chart that looks like that?
Nah, look like trying to test the top of value again on the.
Yeah. Sort of, even if we just do simple fibs, right? It kind of looks to me like we're kind of in no man's land, eh? If we go off the lows and do things like reload zones. Well, actually, here, let's go reload zone. There we are. So 61.8, I love 78.6s. And actually what I usually find is the markets will come down and they'll actually bottom right off of that. 78.6. And I love when markets look like that. Oh my God, so awesome. So it doesn't look like that. Kind of no man's landy. We're sitting at Mountain Man. I mean, Mountain Man's good for a trade, right? You can see like this kind of swing here. Mountain Man's usually not a good level to quote unquote invest off of. This is usually a good trader level. Then I suppose going back up, if I wanted to short, it'd probably be something along those lines. Is this a little lower? Yeah. So interesting how Mountain was tagged there and we just cranked straight back down. So, I don't see anything to get excited about. So what I would just simply say is if I wanted to buy, and we want for our sort of notes, I would say let's, well, that's weird. Oh, yeah. Let's hunt. This is in versus Tether. I would say let's hunt the 49 cent area. I'm going to say watch for bottom of 49 area. And this might take a while to develop. I could see this taking quite a while. So All right. Got that one done nice and quickly.
So I haven't heard a ton lately about the lawsuit, but I have never heard anything in that lawsuit that ever makes me think that the SEC will win. I feel like it will end up being a settlement at some point.
I thought they already did settle. I remember that they wanted to pay something like $100 million or something like that to settle this. But like I said, you guys are the experts in this stuff, not me. Okay. Hey, this is one that Nick, you like this one, don't you? Polka dot. The polka dot.
From time to time, I have definitely liked polka dot. It was one that you could make a decent amount of money early last year in.
All right, so okay. Looks like I got this open twice. Oh, what a silly bug. Okay, so let's put you away. And where were we? Over here. Oh, cool. Actually, this is better. So let's go like that, and then I can just go side by side. All right, so polka dot, what's the symbol? Is it dot, D-O-T?
It is just dot, yep.
And where do we want to look at this?
We looked at it, Tether and Binance last time.
All right. Oh, yeah, you can see we still have some levels on here. In a weird sort of way, and you know, I hate to say this, but I actually think that DeFi could easily go to new highs here. And I wanted to ask you guys, tell me a little bit about Danny. Is he still in the penalty box?
How long do you want me to talk about this? 30 seconds? I'll do 30 seconds.
All right.
My personal perspective is that he is definitely still in the penalty box. Wonderland Time, they had an airdrop for a token that they had purchased with their DAO, and that was a comically low amount of value that was airdropped to people, so that didn't help things. All of the Danny coins are just kind of in the toilet right now, but I still do really, really like Popsicle and Spell from a protocols perspective. I think they're really neat and they're really innovative. Danny is releasing something he did release something with Andre Cronier, who was from Urine Finance and Phantom, and there's a new project out on the Phantom ecosystem that they're involved in called Solidly, I think it's called. But other than that, yeah, it's still pretty rough in that area.
Okay, so probably we can't get back to orgy mode until people are in love with Danny again. And my hunch is that'll mean that things have to settle down. He has to come out with another one of these airdrops or, you know, new protocols or whatever. It has to do exceptionally well. And then everybody's like, okay, well, we love you. Actually, it turns out all the death threats, we were just joking. Ha, ha, ha. And then we move on. That's what's got to happen here, folks. So as long as those people are not made whole and they are still sort of bitter about losing money with him, then that story, in my opinion, doesn't go anywhere. But the good part about crypto kids is they're pretty darn resilient. And all you got to do is just sort of shake off the dust, you know, especially if we get another big wave of sickness and then we get another big sort of wave of free money from the governments. Then, hey, we got some ammunition to work with to actually get a rally going. Other DeFi people? Was there another DeFi story that blew up? What was the other one? Oh, Solana. How's all that going?
I think it's going fine. I know Sam Bankman-Fried is still very popular. He's still incredibly rich.
He's the FTX guy?
Yeah.
And he actually paid for a Super Bowl ad.
He did. I actually thought the ad was okay. It was a little safe, but I enjoyed it.
All right. So, from what I understand, there was a hole in Solana and a whole bunch of money got stolen, right?
Yep, that did happen.
And has the money been returned? Has it been refunded or anything?
So it hasn't necessarily been refunded, but one of like the big hedge funds in crypto, they kind of just offered up the ETH for it. It was a weird story. I never actually figured out why they did that, but it seems like they did.
Okay. So the FTX guy is not in the kind of hot water that Danny's in right now?
No, everyone loves Sam.
Okay.
He's just a weird little nerd.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm glad you said that, not me. If I said that,
I'm a weird
I would have
fat
been
nerd,
fucking
so.
railroad tracked.
No, I mean, he's an incredibly smart, likable nerd, and I think I don't even think he'd think it's bad if you said that. Maybe a weird nerd, but I mean, whatever. I'm a
Okay,
weird nerd.
that's
too.
cool. Okay, and now these dot guys, do they have anything to do with either the Solana or the Danny or any of that kind of universe? Is this a completely different story?
Dot's a competitor to Solana.
Okay.
It's a layer 1 ecosystem like an Ethereum, like a Avalanche, Solana, Phantom, etc.
Uh-huh. All right, and on balance, are they still pretty popular in the space? Good reputation?
I think there's a decent reputation. I don't think they're as popular anymore. They had a big narrative in the summer was around their like that big second run up.
Yeah.
Was around their parachain auctions going live.
Did you say parrot?
Para.
Para.
Like P
Okay.
P-A-R-A.
All right. And what does that mean?
It's the way that the architecture of the ecosystem is. There are a limited number of kind of slots for protocols to run on their blockchain, and so they were auctioning off the first slots for those. And so that got a huge amount of hype, and that's kind of died down now.
Okay.
But I don't know what the next narrative will be for Polkadot, but I think people don't have a bad taste in their mouth over it. I don't think it's just kind of sitting there right now.
Okay. So, that to me, and, we kind of talked about this with Bitcoin. If we just connect the dots, sure looks to me like there's something coming down here that's going to take us up against the top end of this range. I suppose from just purely like Fib's perspective, we're in areas where I don't have a problem with people buying. If you were one of those little old ladies and you're just like, well, Brian, I don't know what's going on here. I've been told that this is a pretty good idea. As long as we are at or below reload zone levels, I don't have a problem with you just going in there and just accumulating away slowly. Nanny Nibbles is, I think, one of the setups that we teach on the site. It's Grimm's. What's Grimm's plan? You call it planting flowers.
Planting flowers.
Which is great. I love the analogies. Totally awesome. Is this a quote-unquote buy here right now? It's close, because if we do things like just quick little trend lines off the top, this will tell us when this thing's actually in a bull mode. So, boobity-boo. Have we broken yet? Oh, not quite. So we would like to ideally see this thing on the other side of this trend line and give us a W, and I think we'll be ready to rock and roll. So also, this that also speaks to that sort of decennial, hamster flu, I guess we have to call it now. Benner cycle just says 22 is just a shit year anyway. Election cycle, I like the idea of maybe this thing telling us it's a buy like over here. But kind of like that last name that we just looked at. I think it was it XRP? I don't have a problem with it over here. This isn't a terrible area. Brian, I would love to be able to buy down there at about, $13. Bottom of value. Oh, I'd love to buy there. So what I'm going to say is I'll put that on there. We'll do that as a chart. And then this would be sort of, what was I going to say? Well, let's just say ideally would love to be a buyer around 14, I guess it is. It's always interesting to see how these kind of comments age. This thing goes down to like $5. Oh, yeah, thanks, Brian. So we'll see how it goes. 78.6. You know how much I love 78.6s. Could this thing dip? Like you can see, there's a notch on the profile all the way down to 1122. I do actually like how full this profile is here, except there's a bit of a problem right here. So it'll be interesting to watch how it acts down in here. Kind of like that psycho study, right? What I'd love to see here, I mean, you know, these poor people. I'd love to see it break the trend line, but then unfortunately we don't get a W just yet, and it does something like that. That's what I'd ideally like to see. I mean, it might have to be a little bit worse though, right? We might have to be like all the way down here, because I would like that notch there to be filled in down here, something like that. That would be ideal in my eyes. But all right, so we can put that on there. We'll go boom. We'll go boom. We'll go boom. What do you think about its place as in the top 10 for cryptocurrencies? Do you think it's justified that these kind of names are in the top 10, or do you think this is not really justified?
I think out of the top 10, I don't think Cardano should be there. I don't think Polkadot should be there. I don't think, well, Doge is no longer in the top 10. It's 11, but I was going to say Doge probably shouldn't be there. XRP, I don't know. A lot of these projects, they just have so much supply, and like Polkadot and Cardano are barely running at this point. But I mean,
Polkadot's barely running. That's what.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot of protocols like actually running on their blockchains.
Fascinating. That's not a good sign.
And it has, well, they're just still developing. They're incredibly popular, but compared to any of the other layer ones up there, like they have barely anything running in production.
Fascinating. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is these should all be level 1ers. Is that the right term? Level 1?
Layer 1.
Layer 1. Beg your pardon. Yeah. Layer 1. And they should have a whole bunch of people running stuff off of their networks.
Yep, and a lot of people are building. It's just there's not a lot up and going. There's not a lot of activity on the blockchains.
All right. Now, Luna. This one's an interesting one, eh? This guy's just come fucking right out of nowhere this past year, eh?
It was 49th when we did it the first time.
Isn't that incredible? I'm always worried, and of course Sjord, he won't want to hear this, but the good part about Sjord is he's very well hedged, so I think he'll be able to weather any kind of storm. But one thing I don't like is when these names grow too far, too fast. And I don't mean to be rude, but when I look at this chart, that's a chart that has grown extremely fast, extremely large. I mean, remember when Bitcoin was like, I mean, you could argue this is exactly the same thing as Bitcoin. Bitcoin was nothing and went zipping up to like $250. Then it had to come right back down to the bottom through the Silk Road reversal. Then it went up to like $1,100. Then it had to come all the way right back down to $150. So I see a lot of similarity in the price pattern here. You know, regardless of whether you believe in, well, no, I mean, Mr. Kwan's character unto himself, I would prefer that these crypto people make peace with the people that are in charge of this world. You can't really change them, and I didn't like his sort of attitude, like, screw you, I don't care what you think, kind of thing. That was the impression that I got when he was talking about regulators and, you know, Luna having to sort of participate and, you know, be good corporate citizens and all that kind of stuff. It was sort of a kind of go screw yourself kind of message. Everybody in the community was kind of like, Brian, no, that's not what happened. Don't get to read too much into it. But still, you know, I mean, the irony of it all is, how long have you guys been, I mean, if you guys have been working with me a while. Do these reload zones often get traded back into?
Yep.
Ben, you're awfully quiet here tonight. What do you think? Do reload zones get traded too?
Pretty often.
Yeah.
It would almost be a surprise if it didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it
So interesting too. You know, you heard Derek talking about the value high there. Notice if we just look at this range now, I don't know. Maybe we have to look at the entire range, but nonetheless, if we look at the entire range, and this is off of Binance Tether, don't know whether this is the best place to look, but notice there's value high there, right around that 88.6. If we zoom in just off of this range from this low, because remember there was a big scandal here, and somebody really tried to break this thing through here, but they were able to get their shit together and they found a floor. So if we go off of that as the floor, then what this is telling me is value high is sitting right basically smack dab right in the middle of a reload zone. And then if we, look left and kind of stuff, that's obviously a kilo, that's a kilo. Little disturbing how after here, we go zipping all the way down into that low and that low. And then if we lose these lows, oh boy, straight down all the way back down to the bottom. So this is precarious. What I suppose I'd like to see, our conversation about W's, I'd really like to see this thing W out on the other side of this trend line. We don't have a W yet, which sucks. Maybe if we're really lucky, we can do something like down, up, right? So we break out. There's your W, right? So down, up, down, breakout. And then we can actually start thinking about moves back up top. Right? Reload zones to the upside. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. There's a big old wick. All these poor little trap bulls, eh? This candle opened up here, it went up, and then all of a sudden it just puked right out and just dumped. So there's a whole bunch of guys sleeping on the couch that are long from right there. Blech. And also notice too, interesting how that's basically coming up and brushing up against the underside of this trend line here. Maybe that's not the best drawing, something like that there, eh? So, if you do see a counter trend rally up into the 80s and we start seeing some M's come in here, I might be a little bit wanting to maybe hop off a little bit of risk there. Down here, though, problem is I think this is probably way too late to be a seller. I mean, the interesting thing is you can see the M. It was a very sharp one. And then we had actually a really nice counter trend rally on this. Even if we go there, notice boink, Mountain Man, nailed. And then a new M, and then dumpage. So I don't like the idea of coming in and shorting here. That doesn't make sense to me at all. If anything, what I'd like to see, just because Sjord is a bull, I don't want to see his heart broken. And this is more sentimental, probably wishful thinking than anything else. What I'd actually like to see is, this thing, pull back against these lows, hold those damn lows, turn back up, and then I think we could have a pretty good shot back up top here. But that's wishful thinking. As it stands right now, you got this cute little W that came in on the other side of this trend line. I don't know whether I would say that set up a trade. You can see it kind of backed off and it's kind of been sort of floundering here. What's worrisome is key support really is along this trend line here, right? So that means remember I showed you the foundation for the study of cycles, they're looking for one more dip lower. I mean, could this thing have to dip down into something like that? Yeah, that's not unrealistic here, folks. So just be forewarned. This is not an easy trade here, either long or short. This is, if anything, what I would call no man's land. So, for the purposes of our study, and it'd be interesting to see if we did have to work our way back down to, say, $25, where would that put this in that ranking of like 1 to 100? Would that knock this out of the top 100? Probably, because it would like literally mean the capitalization has fallen in half from here.
It would absolutely still be in the top. If it was 11 billion instead of 22, it would drop no more than 18th.
Okay, so top 20. I like that. Believe it or not, listening to Mr. Kwan, I think he's the future of crypto. I really do. And I think people like him. I think Danny's the future of crypto. I just think Danny just got a little too ahead of himself. And that's what happens. And if anything, if Danny is the future of crypto, he'll get off his high horse, he'll act humble, He'll be appreciative of the community, blah, 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 blah. You often hear on the site, do you guys hear me going on and on about, I got to keep myself humble. I got to, keep thanking you guys for your participation in the community and all that. You got to do that. As soon as you start getting Mr. Ego and I'm better than you, and then something bad happens, you're toast. It's over. So just don't put yourself into a position. Hey, there's that great Del Moody dude. Great to see you, man. Good to see that you're on the call here. That guy, he is a lesson of how to mine Brian and teach yourself how to trade without spending a dime. So way to go, great Del Moody. Good to see you on the call. Okay, so point here. I hate to say it, and it's going to sound like a broken record, but Brian would love to see... what's our magic number? 25. Ooh, Jesus, that's going to kill Stuart. He's going to hate that. Would love to see 25. And the interesting thing here is to reload. Because remember, I was selling the whole way up. I missed my next double level by, actually about 10, 15 bucks. So it's still pretty far away. But I did get some off in the 60s. And if we dip back down into that 20, 25 area, I will reload. So that's probably what I'm thinking. Actually, I do like, did we note that? Maybe that was another, was that the other name that we were looking at? Notice how this has got a funny little notch down in there too, eh? So this might be another one of these. Maybe it doesn't happen right away. Maybe if we're lucky, we get a little bit of a counter trend rally back up top. But I could very easily see this thing loses the 78.6. And then we ultimately bottom off of that level down the road, fill in the notch. This becomes nice and full, and away we go. So we'll see how it goes, but that would be my sort of Christmas wish list, if you will. I'd love to be able to reload at 25. All right, sort of banging our way through here. What do you think, guys? Is this productive?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, dog money. Oh God, dog money. Really good lesson. Anybody's gonna watch this later on, and bless the guy's heart. I don't think he does this on intention. Well, that's interesting. But this guy is really good at calling tops in the market. If you ever see him do a video about an asset that you're invested in, for fuck's sakes, you better sell some. I mean, I love him dearly. He seems like he's a nice guy, and he's a rapper, and I'm sure he's done very, very well for himself. What I do find really interesting right now is he is going over the top with videos about debt and about, hyperinflation and all that kind of fun stuff. So that tells me in itself that actually we're near the end of this inflation scare, which is kind of ironic. And believe it or not, if you actually listen to any of the Fed officials, they're all sort of saying, well, probably by the end of 2022, we get into 2023, the inflation scare is going to be starting to abate. So remember that this guy came out with his dog money tout right at the top of the market. I mean, like literally. Oh, that's not it. I don't know what the hell this is. That's interesting how when you type in Doge like that, that's what comes up. Market cap Doge? Crypto cap? Isn't that interesting? Let's, where is... Seems to be our sort of popular Doge. I was thinking USDT on Binance. I was thinking something like that. That's what we're doing a lot of these things, eh? Wow, isn't that bizarre? I can't even find that.
Yeah, it looks like we were looking at Tether on Binance before.
Okay. Might as well try and stay consistent. You know what? Actually, I just want to get a beverage. I don't like it being... I'll be right back. I think I'm the only guy in the YouTube world that literally just stands up and walks away from a broadcast right in the middle of it. Eh?
Usually I try to like come up with something clever to say, but that was just a lot of radio silence.
Yeah, who gives a shit? I mean, nobody watches this anyway. This is just for us. All right, so Binance US, Doge USDT. You think that's the one we? Oh, should we do this one up here?
Probably that one.
Right,
yeah,
I'll go with
Binance,
that
not
one. All right.
Binance US.
So, Mr. Remy, of course, right? You can even see the date. Does it have the date? April 29th, 2021. How did he do on picking the top of the market? April 29th. Jeez. So right there is where his video came out. So there was still a little bit more in the tank. And of course, this was Mr. Wonderful's appearance on Saturday Night Live. I mean, gee whiz. Does anybody know Alan? Can somebody just call and ask him? Does he have any conscience?
Apparently, he has a little bit of conscience. He gave away. Oh, well,
I already gave away $5 million worth
Allegedly.
of Tesla stock to like a
But
charity.
that was stock. I thought he actually gave cash or whatever. But okay, $5 billion.
Okay, so he takes $10 billion out of the market, and he gives $5 million to charity. I don't even know what is that as a percentage.
It was a B or M.
M. He took $10 billion.
Oh, I thought it was $5 billion. I kept hearing the word B, but if it's an M.
No. He took $10 billion out of Tesla stock, selling Tesla stock. He's going to owe 50% in taxes. So, in essence, he just pocketed $5 billion.
Oh.
So, 1% of $5 billion is how much money?
You said 20.
50 million.
50 million. So he gave $5 million to charity. That's 0.1% of his net wealth. I mean, okay, fine, great. You know, charities, they did great, whatever. My question would be, how many people do you think lost money getting sucked into this orgy here? Do you think it was more than $5 million?
It says here he gave 5.7 billion in stock to charity.
Really?
Well, I mean, he was worth like 200 billion at one point last year, so that wouldn't be too terribly.
Well, I don't know how that works out as stock, but I mean, it says
Jordan,
5.7 billion.
Jordan's saying 5 million shares.
Oh, yeah. 5 million shares.
It's $5 billion.
Which it could have been around $1,000 a share, which would have put it at 5 billion.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll take that back then. And if anything, that makes perfect sense. Because
there's
now
still
what's
probably
his
a good
tax
reason
bill?
behind it. There's still probably a good reason behind it, like you were mentioning, but it's
so actually, this makes even more sense. So what's his tax bill? If he sells $10 billion worth of stock in the marketplace, and then he turns around and donates $5 billion of stock to a charity, what's his tax bill at the end of the day?
Well, he gets write that $5 billion off, right?
Assuming you could write the whole thing off, that might be even.
Yeah,
almost
zero.
Even,
yeah. So it's, yeah.
Now I remember years ago in the States, if you made a donation to charity, it was a 100% tax write-off. But I'm not exactly sure what the percentages are these days. But that might make sense.
It's still a nice little tax cut, or not.
All right, so I'll take that
savings.
back. I for some reason thought it was $5 million, but if it was 5 million shares at an aggregate value of $5 billion, then okay, he's got definitely some character there. Now let's go back to how many people do you think got taken advantage of here with this Doge story? Do you think that's gone well for most people that were involved in this? I don't know. I would say that if Mr. Remy here, of course, was still long, I don't think he'd be too happy. Interesting thing, I suppose, technically speaking, is you could make the argument you're not walking into a trap now if you wanted to actually throw some money at this thing. I've got the simple rule reload zone. So if we were little old ladies and we were like, well, we'd like to buy some for our retirement, it's actually in an okay place to go and nibble away. Don't like the look of this profile though. The profile in itself, actually we've seen this a few times, eh? We saw it on the Luna. We saw it on what was the other one on the XRP, right? Wasn't it Ripple? Cripple. We used to call XRP Cripple. I don't know whether you remember that years ago. Actually, I remember one guy when I was first involved in the crypto space. His name was Flibber. Flibber? He was a character. And he used to always go on and on and on. This was back in... And this is so odd about how this story goes. Because this was back in 2014. We used to talk, and he used to say that XRP was actually a really good coin for remittance. So it's fascinating that that story has been around now for what is that? That's like 8 years? Jesus, has it been that long? And they're still sort of, humming and on about remittance and stuff. I find that fascinating. Why did we stop calling it Cripple? I don't know. I think I still do call it Cripple. But anyway, that's not exactly politically correct. It's like me calling you-know-who Alan, right? A lot of times I'm not very politically correct. That's why not a lot of people follow me. So, anyway, what can we say about Cripple here? No, this is dog money. Location isn't bad. If anything, I think probably Alan has broken a lot of people's hearts with the failure of this level here, the 78.6. But I think I've told you this before. Do you notice how it looks like the market's actually going to try and W right off of that 78.6 again, eh? It's incredible how the damn market does this. So really learn from this, guys. I mean, whether you may work with me down the road or not, I mean, really try and learn this. It's incredible how the market will lose that 78.6, then jog, and then you come back a month or two later and you go, son of a gun, the damn thing bottomed right off that level. All right, so just doing some simple trend lines here. Boom, boom, boom. That one looks pretty damn important. This steep one obviously negated pretty quickly. 1, 2, 3. This has had a lot of tags, so it looks like I think it's probably pretty relevant. It's interesting how when we were working our way down here, we were just following this along pretty nicely, Really good example here. Notice no W on the other side of the trend line. In fact, we M'd out and we continued working our way down. Really, really good analogy of that. I tell you, man. There's some of the, and you know who I give credit to? A gentleman by the name of Ron Jeremy. I don't think any of you guys understand that joke. And I don't even think he'll even watch my videos anymore.
That's like the days of VHS.
Yeah, it would be about that long ago, eh? In fact, probably I still have some VHS tapes. Actually, I think mine were Betamax. But anyway, we won't go there today. The point here is we had a site member. His name was Nick, if I'm not mistaken. I seem to like to attract Nicks. And his screen name was Ron Damon. And for some reason, I always associated him with Ron Jeremy. I have no fucking clue why. I've never met the guy in person. Anyway, so the nickname stuck, Ron Jeremy, and he was a huge fan of trend lines. And he was the one who actually really sort of said, Brian, we got to really study this stuff. It really works. And gee whiz, that was 2000. Actually, it was 2014, 2015. Quite a while ago. So, hats off to you, Ron. Nick, Mr. Jeremy. I don't even know where he is. He was living in Thailand. So, actually, I wonder if he's still around. He should probably hook up with Julian over in Thailand.
No, never mind.
Yeah, no, we won't touch Thailand and all that stuff. Theoretically, it's not that bad these days. People don't go there for sexual tourism anymore. That's what I heard. I don't know. Anyway, back to our story. So what are some of the things that I'd like to see to justify me actually pulling the trigger here? Yeah, well, and then we changed it to LJ. So yeah, you're right. Great Del Moody. And then actually I ran into her, so we changed it to a lady's name because she didn't obviously like that reference, and I was cool with that. Then I ran into her like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I don't use trend lines anymore." So I was like, "All right, well, what the hell are we gonna call this damn thing now?" So anyway, I think in the site library we just call it like a trend line break because obviously Mr. Jeremy's slightly politically incorrect these days. So let's quiz the audience. Number one, we've got trade location, so it's not bad. What's the my little panel of helpers? What's the next thing if I was thinking about buying that I'd kind of want to see here?
Let's look at some indicators.
All right.
For indicator confirmations.
So what do we got here? Anything like I'm a big fan of the MACD histogram. It's a little bit esoteric. You're not going to find many people in this world that like to use the MACD histogram, but it's how I like to measure momentum. I think it does a really good job in measuring raw momentum. So we have that, and we have that, and looks like we got a really big here, down, up, down, up. Fortunately for the bear side, we have that, which actually was confirmed right there. You can see how it broke through the bottom there, right? This is also a lower high than that high. So,
does this almost seem like a 6-month coil to you, Brian?
yeah, that's not a bad way to describe it. It almost looks like you could even... I don't know whether I would use these peaks. But I think I
from
might
there
do
is where I was
something
looking.
like that,
Yeah.
eh? Something like that. And the problem is, and you probably know where I'm going next with this, Nick, how do coils usually resolve in MACD?
So you're saying we want it to go down first?
These things can be pretty crazy. If you've never seen this before, you know, this might actually be a really good test case, like sort of a case study for you to follow how these MACD coils usually play out. In fact, you might even argue that there was a MACD coil that developed back here. So you can see we went sort of lower highs and then higher lows. And, you know, Nick said, right, ideally you'd like, because what ends up happening is it does like a whipsaw. It'll either go whipping up and break the coil to the top and then come crashing down. And it's almost like, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like this is a megaphone in a weird sort of way. So the coil is sort of like the energy of the megaphone, and then the megaphone blurps, and then, whoa, we got to visit both sides of the megaphone. So Nick was saying there just a moment ago, well, we would actually prefer that actually we break to the downside first, because then that would be like, wow, like that. So, excellent observation. You can definitely... One thing I don't like about this coil, though, is this low here, eh? Like, that actually is pointing lower. Well, that has broken. So, we broke to the upside, then broke to the downside. We're holding these low, so that's okay. But I think Nick's observation here is spot on. And probably the way that I would look at this is you can see there's a big honking W that's trying to form there. That's on that move through there. You'd like to get just nice consolidation through here and push higher. Kind of like what you see here. Notice consolidation, push higher. But I also, I don't know. I feel as though the market's gone down too much here. But I also see up, down, up. And so if this thing fails, that also is a fail level. So kind of like what I have on this line here. I think you could actually draw another one right up down here like that. And then there's also another one here to here to here down here. So what this says to me is, believe it or not, this says to me, leave it alone. Don't touch it. This has got to resolve itself. We've got to get some sort of push. I mean, ideally, we'd love to see this kind of scenario. Nice breakout above, W's confirming. And you can see we're ramping up here. Okay, let's rock and roll. But you have to understand that this whole damn thing could flip right back on over and fail. And then, you know, the sad part about this is you can see it actually put in an M here. And so this breakdown, this downtrend here in momentum actually is off of that market structure top there. So interesting too how we're coming into this, and you can see that just this sloppy, choppy in through here. Market, I don't think the market really knows which direction it wants to go here. And in those kind of cases, I actually think it's probably best just to leave this thing alone. Great Dow Moody's using a CCI indicator, Commodity Channel Index. I haven't used CCI in a while. All right, so maybe dude up a video, Great Del Moody, and we can make you famous with your TA skills. Sounds like he's getting pretty good at his job.
You know, if we do break down first, that could fill the notch. We got the 886 with the Benkoff check there.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, you know what might happen is we come down and play along this trend line again. We'll do something like that. Could totally see that. In fact, looking at this profile, I mean, really, you could argue that's where everybody's long. Sadly, all of these, this is all the retail public up here. And I might say that, you know, if we do get counter trend rallies, probably this is the limit of expectations in the short term. Because that node, there's, you know, like you've heard me say before, right? There's probably a ton of guys who went and bought this market right in here. And where are they sleeping, Derek?
On the couch.
Yeah. So, you know, we often say wicks and tails like to be eaten. My hunch, actually, look at it. There's another big wick there and another wick there. Man, there's a lot of trap bulls in this market. But I think you could probably make the argument on any kind of dead cat bounce. Yeah, you can see how that is basically reload zone up against that M top up there. So any kind of counter trend rally, you get up into the 30-cent area, maybe it'd probably be a good idea to let them have some. You know, from 15 cents, actually that's a double. And I remember when I first got into this space, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, whatever the hell it was. That first year, that 2014, 2015, we had to go through a correction, and I did tons of charts that looked like this. And we talked at length about how any kind of dead cat bounce rallies into resistance, yeah, you're probably going to want to let them have some up here. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So, can you put yourself on an accumulation plan? It's 14 cents right now. And our bottom of the profile, I doubt it goes through this 6, 7, 8 cent area. Could you put yourself on an accumulation plan with just the understanding that we get a rally up into the 20, 30 cent area? You're going to let them have half just to get that risk-free trade? It's not a terrible idea. You want to try and time your purchases? I'm a badass trader. I think we're still a little bit early, especially with the decennial report, the Benner cycle, the hamsters, you know, coughing and all that shit. There's a lot of sort of reasons why I'd go very, very slowly here. And if anything, what I want to kind of hear is I want to hear a little bit more pain. I don't hear that much pain in the market right now, which leads me to believe that there could be a little bit of a punch in the nose. So, what would I say if I, you know, the irony of it all, hold your gun to your head. I don't actually mind people accumulating this, especially like Nick said there, the Benkoff check off of that 88.6. Again, great observation, Nick. You're getting really good at this shit, I can see. I don't mind you accumulating through here. That's actually not a terrible idea, believe it or not. The only problem is, to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really like endorsing ideas of Alan's, so that in itself is a bit tough of a pill for me to swallow. But you like Alan, awesome. It looks to me like this is accumulatable here. And ironically enough, you're actually going to find Doge is going to move back up your scale if this thing does rally, eh? So anyway,
It'll be interesting to see, because I see if some of these rally, I don't think it's going to just be a couple coins. I think it'll be a lot of them. And so I do wonder, like, there's a chance Doge could still double and not go up in the rankings if we do have a kind of the end of the year rally like we're thinking, or like some people are thinking.
It might even come even a bit earlier than that, you know, because crypto really loves to rally in the summer. What I think probably happens is we get a pretty good idea of who's going to win the election probably by like May, June. And then, you know, the decennial report showed that the bottom comes in about the middle of the year. So you might actually find that our little crypto rally that we're expecting, Luna up into the 70s, 80s, Doge rallies back up into the 30s. That might actually happen, you know, into sort of like the middle of the summer, July, August kind of thing. That wouldn't surprise me. I will say, come September, October, I would be very, very careful in the commodity space. And I still believe crypto is part of the commodity space. So, you know, there you go. And as somebody on YouTube points out, Brian, put your personal opinions away about Alan and just trade your setups. Yeah, you're right, Wade. You are right. The only problem is you know, I'm getting older in my years. So as a result, I don't have that sort of, you get set in your ways when you're older, and I hate endorsing what I consider poor behavior. And remember, guys, I've been the father of a very low-functioning child with severe autism for 21 years now. I know the very ugly side of autism. So when Alan starts saying, oh, you know, I can get away with stuff, I have autism, that makes me very upset. And so that really sort of hits home with me. So old man, set in his ways, and then the whole autism thing. You're right, Wade. You're absolutely right. A trader should basically be agnostic and not give a shit one way or the other. But unfortunately, it's probably just a function of my old age coming into the equation. But you're right, Wade. You are right. Okay, why don't we do one more? That'll take us to 8 o'clock. And wait, did you guys enjoy the conversation tonight? I talked way too much. But, oh well. Hope you guys
always wonderful.
Agreed.
You didn't say that too enthusiastically.
No, it's good, man.
He's gonna force it out of me. Yeah, Brian. Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
I'm kind of running out of steam here. I've been.
Yeah, it's gonna be getting late for you, eh? What's
but
up?
Yeah, no.
Is it 1 o'clock?
No, it's not that late.
It's about 11 o'clock for you.
But every day for me starts at like 4:30 now, so I've been up super early. So
is Mom back yet?
Yeah, yep,
Oh,
she's
thank
back.
heavens.
But I started a new job, so I've been.
New job, eh? Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah, so.
Maybe that explains a bit of the gray.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving on. We got one more to look at. Is this one of your favorites, Nick? Avalanche?
It is.
Yeah, AVAX. You like this one, right?
I love AVAX, yeah.
Oh yeah, love. Use strong words.
I think the tech for Avalanche, I think is right up there at the top for any.
Now that's interesting.
Ones.
Isn't this is one that seems to keep coming up on our dashboard as a really strong name, eh?
It has that. Yeah, it has recently.
What chart? Now this I think is a good looking one. What chart pattern is this thing just confirmed here? And it looks like it confirmed either today or yesterday. Wow, you don't see that every day.
Do you call that an inverse head and shoulders?
I would. To me, this looks very robust. But it's interesting how David might argue this with me. But I see boom, 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 boom. David would probably say, well, I don't like the fact that it's downward sloping on the neck. Oh, come on, you. But I like it when the head and shoulders is nice and level. I like that. That makes me nice and happy. Probably also, too, he doesn't like the fact that this right shoulder is slightly lower than this left shoulder. That's probably a no-no. But I like that. That looks good to me. Also, too, this is probably a really good example where the market asked, do I want to be in value? Came down, traded to the pockets. A bit surprising, actually. We didn't even trade back to value low there. Got down sort of in a little bit below the POC. So surprising it didn't have to go all the way down there. Came quickly snapping right back up to value high. Consolidated. And here we are trying to break back above value. It's actually interesting. I think it was today we had an example where an asset was accepting below value. Do you guys remember what was that asset that we were looking at?
Oh boy.
Can't remember what that was. Was it a stock? Can't remember. Anyway, this is the exact opposite. This is an asset that's trying to accept above value. If the market does accept above value, is that bullish or bearish?
That would be bullish.
Yeah, very bullish. So, Great Del Moody feels the same way about Cripple as I feel about Allen. Go figure. And if we talk in secret names, nobody's going to know what the hell we're talking about anyway, right? All right. Now, that's what I just saw here. Is that enough to justify going and just betting the farm? I doubt it. I mean, if we do just simple trend lines, I can't tell. If this high is higher than these highs, then that's valid. What do we got there? 127.32. Oh, what's that high? 127, yeah, 127.32, 127.41. Oh, no, so it isn't. Okay. And actually, you know what? I think the trend lines actually look like that. And then look like that. All right, we didn't get a hell of a lot to work with there. And then I suppose we could probably also do another one there. So actually, trend line analysis-wise, I think we are trapped in this trading range, like so. Which, I mean, where are we here? 95. Take the market, you know, if we do our head and shoulder, inverted head and shoulders, price objective, that would actually be the head back to the neckline, and then wherever the head is, I think it's right there. Neckline breakout, actually suggesting it wants to go right back up top, which might even carve out a massive inverted head and shoulders. Man, this thing, God, like, just on first blush, I just get all of these bullish sort of weird feelings. Like, gee whiz. So something along those
I now know
lines.
how middle school Brian felt. Getting all these weird feelings.
Looking at price charts. Yeah, no, that's a bit odd. Yeah, well, I lost the love of my life, so I don't have those kind of feelings anymore. I get feelings when it comes to price charts.
Hey, those can still be good feelings.
Yeah, I suppose so, but I'm too old for that kind of talk. Anyway, I have to admit, you know, I was very surprised when I was looking at the... now this kind of makes sense. Ben, can you see your level here? I guess it kind of makes sense why that was such a damn pivot there. Damn, that's incredible, eh? Very rarely do you see this. You know, this is one of those examples where you'd be like, well, Brian, you know, yeah, it did do 61.8. And actually, yeah, this is a good example of it did come down into reload zone. But if you see a market come down and like just tag mountain and just jack the other direction, that is the sign of a very strong market. So that's fascinating. This is the most bullish chart that we've looked at by a long shot. And so it is interesting to me how when I asked Nick, and we haven't really heard from our other panelists too much tonight about FA. Derek, Ben, what do you feel when you sort of hear people talk about this AVAX avalanche? This is the avalanche, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't so much been following it as of late, but I mean, in terms of, I know that in general, it's like people's top 3 or 4 in terms of like layer 1 solutions.
Yeah. And Ben, thoughts?
Yeah, I think kind of piggybacking off what Nick was saying earlier is that some of the coins that are in the top there, maybe they had first mover advantage, and these kind of ones like Avalanche or Luna, like they're there because they're doing things that they belong to be there. They've got a lot of adoption and a lot of people doing exciting new things on them. So that's kind of my feeling about them.
Yeah, I mean, I think mainly what they're addressing is probably what speed and cost, right? And so
that's always good because that's the big thing with ETH, right? You want to do anything
so
there,
I think
it costs you a fortune.
Yeah, any layer 1 that can do that and also has a decent following and some DeFi to it has a chance.
So both of you would agree with Nick on sort of the sentiment on this thing? It's a pretty sexy story.
Yeah, I think across the board, I think it's considered a strong crypto or a strong project.
Sounds to me, folks, like we found our winner for the night. Which one to take a serious look at if you were thinking about putting some money to work in the market? And I do find it interesting, like all of the names we looked at, this is the only one that's actually putting in bullish market structure as we're talking here. And they did that today, right? So this is the daily chart. So this is sort of tomorrow's action. So whatever the hell happened today, it actually caused this thing to break out through the top. That's pretty darn important. So fascinating. Yeah. So, this is a kind of scenario where, and if I'm not mistaken, I suppose we can do a shameless plug for the site here. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like it just keeps coming up like day after day after day. It's like one of the strongest names in the crypto space, eh? And AVAX #1. Oh, hey, look at that. That's so funny. Now, how are we covering the whole damn crypto universe? Keep in mind, we got like 2,500 different names in here, and the AVAX comes out as #1 right across the board. Why is that happening?
I think that's telling you AVAX is killing it against everything.
Yeah, so it's up against dollar, it's up against BTC, it's up against ETH, it's up against fucking probably Russian rubles. I mean, it's up against everything. So if that's not an endorsement, I don't know what the hell is, eh? That's great. So it's interesting, if we were to listen to Sjord and what we should be interested in, fascinating how AVAX, and I just even said that, right? This name actually technically broke out today. What the fuck? I mean, did Bitcoin break out today? I don't think so. Did Ethereum break out today? So go figure. Yeah, there you go. Probably actually a really great note to end the call on. The only problem is I'm a cheap ass. You all know that. So can I go and buy that there? No. Maybe I could entertain things like bullish bot setups. So that would be, I'd want to see 33 but no more than 66% retracement. This came awfully close to 66 there, though, eh? That's
I looked. It looked like there was 1 or 2 candles where it wicked down past 66.
Oh, yeah, there's 33, eh? So the tails... I have worked with some people in the past that are like, well, just as long as we don't get a candle body lower than that, then I'm fine with that. That's iffy. And I suppose you could have said, well, you know, Brian, I'm not going to use that low. I'm going to use this low. Yeah, you know. That's the one all of you people watching this YouTube video, whether you're watching it live here now or later on, you have to understand technical analysis. There are some basic principles, but to all intents and purposes, technical analysis is more of like an art form than a specific science. So this would probably be a really good example of you as an artist expressing your your artistic flair as a technician. You know, you get really good at using setups like the bot, and you can start sort of working your charts. What levels am I going to work with? Hell, maybe I'm going to hunt a bullish bot just in this range here. I got one low, and I'm going to hunt for a pullback here. In fact, actually, a really good example of that is gold today. We had a nice little day trade in the gold market. And, you know, a bit off topic, but, you know, not a bad way to sort of finish the night. There's the daily chart, just absolute mess. But, you know, we started out this morning. ATR suggested if we rally, we were going to head up top. We had some gaps to be filled in, horizontal support and resistance. So if we were going to rally, wicks and tails like to be eaten, blah, blah, blah. We had a pretty good shot. We were going to rally up top there. And then, you know, through the day, I had a bunch of guys in the day trader room that were hunting longs down through here. In fact, our show producer, Monday to Friday, he was hunting a long down here. So great trade, Chris. You kicked ass. And I came along halfway through the session. I was like, okay, I got to get in. I got to get in. What can I find? What can I find? And there is a bullish bot that's set up. But this one, you can see, I mean, the three lows, it wasn't very pretty, but this is a really good analogy of just a trader understanding the setup that he works with. And just, you know, I got one low, got two lows, got three lows, got four lows. All right, give me some sort of bullish breakout here and I can get long. And sure enough, that's where I bought. So really good example of me just as a trader. And this is sort of my canvas, and I'm drawing I'm doing my art off the canvas. So, you know, first and foremost, are you comfortable with taking risk? Because keep in mind, if you're not comfortable in these trades, then ironically enough, your subconscious is actually going to undo you. So what that usually means is you got to have enough experience, enough repetition that you go, hey, I've seen inverted head and shoulders like this. I'm more than happy to buy that neckline breakout, and I'm going to risk against this shoulder. If that's your plan, that's your plan. Okay, fine. You know, and I'm going to be looking to take profits at that head and shoulder objective. I'm not necessarily saying it's a right trade. I'm not saying it's a wrong trade. What I'm saying is, as professional traders, we always have to approach every single trade like we vetted. We've got realistic 2-to-1 profit objective. You can see that's 2.12, so that's acceptable. And then the question is, have you done this enough times that you know subconsciously that when this neckline is broken, we usually do the head and shoulders projection. I'm extremely bullish on the fundamental story. I'm very comfortable taking this trade. And then, of course, take appropriate risk, blah, 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 according to your plan. So, there you go. All right, so I think what we'll do is I'll put this in the document. It's kind of a messy chart, but I did throw on that metric. I actually think this is working as we speak. So it'll be interesting to come back to this down the road and see what happens. So. Okay, I think, I don't know, I think we did about a half a dozen names or so, didn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 names. Oh, that's not bad. We also took a quick boo at the corn. Talked a little bit about corn. Also talked a little bit about Taiwan Semiconductor and some esoteric ideas like day trading gold. So I think we had a pretty good offering here tonight. Okay, why don't we finish off with our great prognostication. And Ben was our big winner, although I don't think Ben actually voted that. But nonetheless, we'll declare him the winner. Where are we going to go next, Ben? You tell me. No pressure. No pressure.
Oh, man. I'm gonna go maybe a -1.
-1. All right. Interesting. Okay. Next up, Derek. What do you think's gonna happen here?
I got some squiggly lines, and it says 1.
1. All right. Slightly higher. Right on. And Nick's. Oh, okay. I'll help you out there. And what does 1 get? 1 gets a yellow. Oh, look at that. You beat me. All right. Mr. You've been actually quite bearish recently. Are you still quite bearish? What do you think?
So I feel like I am the ultimate counter sentiment indicator, and I feel bullish.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say a 1, but I don't like that I feel bullish. I don't know why, but I've journaled this a lot, and I need to pretty much look to the opposite side of however I feel on any given day.
Okay. I mean, maybe your journal entry should be, just like that Beamish guy and his opinion about Allen. Just it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, no, it is, and over time, I think it's helped the journaling because I can tell it's like, oh, I'm kind of getting swept up in some exuberance. Like there's a lot more bullishness on the timeline on Twitter, and so that gets me a little nervous too. But I think that's probably part of it. Is I'm getting a lot of the crowd's emotions tied up in me, and I need to just get rid of that.
Okay. The point I think with this exercise is there is no wrong or right answer.
Yep.
It's just, if anything, what I'd love for you guys to see over time is opinions mean nothing. Setups mean everything.
Yep.
Because I don't think any of us, our opinions have really been that accurate, have they?
Mine have certainly not been.
And I'll even say that myself, for myself. My opinion doesn't mean jack shit. At 30 years in the game, you think that I'd have a half decent opinion, but I don't. But, every once in a while you look like you're pretty smart. What the hell. Okay, so you're going to go with a bullish vote, though, eh?
I am.
Okay, and Brian, what's Brian thinking? Brian is thinking, after all of the ranting I've been doing about all the cautious stuff that I have in my mind, I think I have to give a -1. So, if anything, sentiment-wise, I'd actually like to be bullish, but I'm going to have to lean on the -1. And hopefully I'm wrong. So, there you go. So interesting, actually, we have a little bit of a polar opposite there. So Ben and I are on one side of the fence, and Nick and Derek are on the other. That's kind of interesting.
Sorry, Derek.
I know. You're right. What I would just simply say is kind of like what I showed you before. I mean, the irony of it all is if I was trading this... Oh, where did that darn chart go? I thought I had it on here. Maybe it's the other one. If I was trading this, I really like being in... where are you? This trade. If I was trading this, I really like being long from... what is that? 39,300. Yeah. Buying here, though? Ugh, can't touch that. So, anyway, we'll see how it goes. All right, guys. What do you think? Shall we call it a night? Is there anything that we should have talked about that I missed, maybe?
Besides Charlie Munger having an analogy about Bitcoin being very similar to a venereal disease.
Ooh.
I remember I've heard him say rat poison in the past. I think both him and... where the hell did that darn page go? Oh, here it is. He and Buffett has expressed the same interest. I thought it was fascinating. I listened to an interview of his. I guess he's a director of a company called Daily Journal or something like that, which I guess is a pretty big investment house. Daily Journal, yeah. How ironic, journaling, eh? We're talking about journaling. And And he disclosed that he is a very large shareholder in Alibaba. So fascinating how he's comfortable being heavily invested in like a totalitarian dictatorship like China. And the way that China's acting with the company founder, Jack Ma, he has no problems with that kind of stuff. That doesn't bother him one bit. Whereas, what do you think with Brian? Would that bother Brian a little bit?
No, well, not a little bit.
A lot of bit.
Yeah. So, frankly speaking, I think I would. You know, it's kind of sad. You listen to those guys, and of course, they're the 1%, and they're the guys that own all the capital stock in the banks and in all the infrastructure of the United States of America, right? And basically our society. So it's interesting. Wade here is saying that actually he owns BTC. So go figure.
I mean, he's also like almost 100 years old, so I'm not going to be
That's
going
remarkable,
to him for tech investment advice.
Yeah, yeah. But I did, you know, I'm going to go and listen to actually the rest of that interview later because I was actually quite surprised to hear that he's a very big shareholder in Alibaba. So it's interesting, as somebody said, how can you be invested in Alibaba with China's slightly questionable human rights records and, you know, what they did to Mr. Ma and, you know, their poor little tennis players. And by the way, China, you know, for as long as I'm alive, I will always remind you of that.
The folks in the north.
His response was, well, I feel the same way about investing in Russia. And I won't invest in Russia, whereas other people in my field will invest in Russia. And me personally, Brian Beamish, why invest in either of those two places? They're both run by fucking totalitarian dictators. Can't we have some sort of fucking morals in this world? But then, hey, my dear leader, he actually looks up at the Chinese, and he has publicly said that he likes the way the Chinese run their society. So what the hell am I supposed to do as a Canadian? Oh, Jesus, what a mess. Oh, well. So there you go. I don't know whether that helps the conversation or not, but that's my input there. Okay, guys. You know, I do love that SI Silvergate, Raphael, crypto-friendly bank. I was long. Oh, talk about a fucked up trade. Do I want to go into this? This could be a 15-minute rant. But I was long this stock, and I was a uber bull. Uber bull. I mean, I used to go on and on and on about how, well, the banks are going to come in and they're going to accept Bitcoin and, you know, we're all going to get rich. I was long this motherfucking stock from right here. Oh, look at that. Look how painful that is. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was long there. And the stock doubled. And, you know, everybody, of course, at TRI hates the banks. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll double my money and I'll walk away. Now, is this not a good example of maybe I should just sell halves on doubles and just let the market let me get rich? Look how much fucking money I left on the table there. So, don't get me started about somebody over there on YouTube goes, crypto-friendly bank. I mean, damn it. Oh, that thing pisses me off. Man, I left a lot of money on the table there. Oh, well, what can you do? Okay, let's get that the hell off the screen. I don't want to see that damn thing to end the stupid show. No, this is a good show, actually. I really like working with you guys. So, this is a good show. AVAX kicking ass. I actually like what I'm hearing from the boys. Unfortunately, I couldn't buy that there. But let's see what happens. And, you know, you saw clearly Sjord likes AVAX.
This is my alpha, my potential alpha for the day. When you see something like this happen, go take a look at all the AVAX coins. Because there might be some good buys there.
Yeah.
And so if AVAX, if that ecosystem if it's time to go, usually the big boy leads first, and then some of the smaller coins will come after. So there could be some decent buys down there. I haven't.
So the question I would have, like, the reason why Luna was moving up the way that it was that it just kept coming out with new product, new protocol, new protocol, new protocol, new protocol. So my question for you and all you guys over there on YouTube and stuff, and people watching the other week, is what are the new products that this guy's coming out with? And can we get a hold of some of that shit? You know, airdrops and all that kind of stuff, right, Nick?
Yep.
Does that make sense? In fact, maybe what we should do, we can't do it tomorrow, but are you around for the daily brief time?
No, I mean, I work during the day.
All right. Maybe before you leave work, maybe you could just drop me like a message or something. Just remind me on Friday morning. And maybe through the daily brief on Friday, we'll see if we can filter through a bunch of these names. I'll poll the community, and we'll see whether we can put together a short list and see if there's anything that looks attractive.
Sure, I can do that.
Does that sound like a plan? Derek or Ben, are either you going to be around Friday for that video?
No, I'm not. I can't do daily briefs anymore right now.
Oh, you bastard. I noticed that. I've been
kind of out of the loop for a couple weeks.
Kind of bummed that the daily brief participation has fallen off, because all you guys have gone back to work.
I mean, I do usually watch half of it over lunch, and I'll watch the other half after work. But
no, it's cool. I appreciate you placating me. The point here is just if somebody could remind me for Friday's video. I actually like that thinking, Nick. That's smart thinking. So okay, why don't we leave it at that? The original reason, and we've been doing this now for we haven't been going a year yet, have we? But we sure have been going a while, eh?
Yeah, we're getting close. We're probably at 9 months or so.
Yeah. So just FYI, anybody who's sort of watching this for the first time, we've been doing this video for a while. This weekly crypto show, and believe it or not, the whole reason why I did this originally is I really would, and if anything, if crypto needs to sort of calm down a bit and prices come back down to earth, what I'd really like to do is I'd like to get a piece of land in Decentraland, set up a booth, and just have these videos running 24/7, right? You can see. And if you look at our channel right on YouTube, I mean, we've got, well, that's the back end. You're not supposed to see that. But we have tons and tons of videos. I mean, does it even say how many videos are in these things? I mean, they're just ridiculous how many we've done. This is 221 videos right there. And just even these, actually, this will tell us how many we've done, right? We've done 33 of these. I guess that's what 33 are. Point here is I'd love to have this just running 24/7. So if anybody wants to learn how to trade, they can just sit, just like Great Del Moody guy. They can just sit down in Decentraland and just watch, right? And they'll just be playing all the time. So with that said, and then where am I going with all this? If you found any value out of this, all you 28 people, but it is kind of cool, because what I do notice is that there's actually hundreds of people that watch these on a weekly basis, so that's kind of cool. But if you did get some value out of this, we do have an ETH wallet set up here, and it is expressly for the purpose of buying a piece of land in Decentraland. So if you felt like you got some value out of this, the old Coinigy videos, that's right, we could throw that in there as well. And you can sit and literally listen to the Beamish rant for a ridiculous amount of hours on end. And that's the ultimate goal. So as I said there just a moment ago, I'd love you all if you could hit the like button and subscribe and ring Ben's bell, because I think Ben actually's got a pretty cool bell working right now. Right, Ben? Anyway, we used to have a lady on the site, but I think she's sort of semi-retired now, Colleen. And I used to always ask you to ring Colleen's bell. But we'll ask you to ring Ben's bell. But if you could hit the like button, all the sort of YouTube stuff. And of course, if you really did find some value and you'd like to give back to TRI, but you don't feel like joining the site, well, maybe consider just throwing us a couple bucks on this ETH wallet to help us build that Decentraland piece of property. So thank you very much in advance. Hugs and kisses. Thank you so much to my panel members, Derek, Nick, and Ben. Great guys. I mean, fantastic. I love working with you guys. Thank you very much for your participation tonight. Ben, really, I think actually on balance, you were the most quiet tonight. So I think you get the honor of taking us on out of here. From everybody at TRI, thank you so much. Oh, please, everybody take a moment, close your eyes, and send a positive karmic wave to Liam. Keep in mind he's low-functioning autistic. He's nonverbal. I think he really is in tune with the universe. And since I've been doing this and asking all of you to give him good vibes, I'm with him 2 days a week. We spend about 4 hours together, daddy son time. So I have a session with him tomorrow afternoon when the market's done. And I have found that when I ask you guys to give karmic waves and karmic vibes for Liam, he's usually in really good spirits. So if everybody could think of positive karmic thoughts for Liam, I'd really appreciate it. And I think the only thing left for us to say this evening, Ben, if you're ready to take us on out of here, it's been a great job, all of you. But Ben, the only thing left for us to say is...
Bye for now.